Well, Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4 have come and gone, and I haven't disintegrated into a pile of dust. Yet. There's a lot to discuss with the new stuff my favorite little dude got in Chapter 4. Most excitingly, for the first time since 2018, he has been given brand new face sprites. I decided I should probably give my formal thoughts on these, and hey, while I'm at it, why not look at his old ones as well? Both Burgerpants from Undertale and Pizzapants from Deltarune have a wide array of insane facial expressions. I'll go through all of them, talk about them a little to give my thoughts, and then give my rating for each of them. We'll be going by an esoteric and arbitrary scoring system that I just made up as an excuse to talk about my favorite character in the game. I will be giving scores out of 5 for how visually pleasing the sprite is, how funny I think it is, and how well it has been used in tandem with its dialogue to reach its full potential. To be clear, these scores do not matter. Like I said, it's just a thinly veiled excuse to talk about funny pictures of a cartoon cat guy. Obviously, these are just my subjective opinions. I don't think that disclaimer is necessary because I don't think there's a single person out there who would be upset at me for not loving certain Burgerpants sprites as much as they do. Because, let me be clear here, I love all of these sprites. So, without further ado, let's stare at some pants. Let's start with a classic. This is the first sprite you see of Burgerpants when you're introduced to him, and it seems to be his base form. Now, I should probably address the elephant in the room. It's difficult to phrase this professionally, but I simply find his lumpy, wacky face utterly adorable. There's no way around it. Throughout this video you're going to see displays of blatant bias in my scoring. Where others may see him for the ugly freak that he is, I can only see my favorite little guy. Can't be helped. After purchasing his wares for the first time, Burgerpants' visage suddenly disfigures grotesquely. His hat somehow changes shape entirely, and his shirt disappears. Listen, this is a recurring thing, it's not just me, okay? Toby Fox is the one who keeps doing this, okay? Anyway, this is the only sprite of his that actively and predominantly freaks me out. It's by far the most horrific in either game, but its true genius lies in how it's utilized. Remember, this appears after buying something from him for the first time, so it's most likely the second sprite you ever see. So, in a matter of moments, your immediate impression of Burgerpants goes from, "Aw, this guy looks like a very tired plush toy," to, "Holy mother of God, is this dude okay?" Yet another sprite that is designed to creep you out. His face balloons outwards and his lips puff up, making him look as if he has been stung by a bee. As per the title, he sorta does look like a vampire bat too. Is it revolting? Perhaps, but there's a certain charm in how suddenly yet elegantly he can transition from his default face to this one, as opposed to the previous face, which is just straight up a jump scare. It really feels like the default face is him struggling to keep his hatred and wrath contained, and this face is the mask cracking a little bit. If you try to sell an item to him instead of buying something, this is the second face you'll see, and although it isn't as effective at jumpscaring you as the previous one, it pulls off something similar. This one is first used when he breaks character, stops speaking in his customer service voice, and starts opening up to Frisk for real. This one is great because of how desperate he looks. Also, his head is rather square. Perhaps that kit to make you more rectangular that he tried had more of an effect than he first thought. Burgerpants is a very nervous guy, and that comes across very strongly in this sprite. I really enjoy how sharp and twisted his mouth and eyes look. Just like in the last one we get to see his arms, and here they're just as horribly distorted. They're uneven sizes and his wrists bend unnaturally. This sprite doesn't really leave as much of an impact as many of the other ones, but it's still fun and is used as an important sort of bridge sprite for much of his dialogue. Let's keep that in mind while scoring it. A face used to get across a certain feeling of shame, humiliation, or even self-reflection. Uses the same general body and head shape as the previous ones, aside from the absence of arms and the fact that his face slumps down to the corner of his head. Another thing is that, aside from this one and the original, all Burgerpants faces have some sort of animation going on, whether that be trembling, bouncing, whatever. The fact that this one doesn't really lends to a feeling of abrupt cessation of momentum, and like I said before, gives off the vibe of self-reflection. Next we have what is probably his most iconic face, used when he drops his most banger bars, such as, "I'm 19 years old and I've already wasted my entire life," and "I can't go to hell, I'm all out of vacation days." Notably, the M on his hat turns into a W for this one. This, of course, is because he can't stop winning. Another detail is that he apparently smokes with the filter on the wrong end. It may look like there's a yellow bit here, but that's actually just because Toby forgot to color in this little bit here, so it's transparent and shows the wall behind him. Delightful. Yup, that's right, I'm doing the overworld sprites too. He only has one in Undertale, which is seen in the credits. He seems to have finally attained his dream of being on stage with Metaton, but he's been cast as a bush or something. He doesn't seem to be very happy, but don't worry little buddy, you'll make it big someday. Now, on to Pizzapants. He has an entirely different array of new sprites, some of which are analogous to ones he has in Undertale, and some of which are different but attempt to capture a similar vibe. Before we start, however, I'd like to talk about the minor changes to his design between the two games. Namely, the tuft of fur on his head and the disgusting little beard he has. I can't lie, I love these additions a lot. I think they really help fill out what is otherwise a very simple, albeit incredibly expressive, design. Now, the main event. Clearly a Deltarune adaptation of the first sprite we looked at, with some minor changes. These are probably due to the size constraints of the dialogue box, but his eyes now appear to look directly at the player instead of being unfocused and crossed, and his face shape is slightly slimmer and less lumpy, although still quite evocative of the humble bowling pin. God, look at him! Look at how stupid he is! One finds it difficult to imagine Pizzapants having a skull that isn't made of fluid. His eyes are crossed, his lip is pronounced, his facial hair goes from looking like an intentional goatee to a spotty mist while shaving, his ears go from somewhat feline and pointed to large and round like a teddy bear's. I have a soft spot for this one. If you watched my last scripted video, you know that this sprite is used for what I consider to be my favorite line in the game. It is, of course, very funny, and quite versatile, as it's used both when he's angrily complaining and when he, you know. Also, he looks like a light bulb. This sprite is fun. I love how his eyes are looking to the side all shifty-like, as though he's about to tell you something he thinks is really funny and he's cracking himself up just thinking about it. There is something else, though. For this sprite and the four that come after it where his hat is shaped like this, there are a few pixels that, instead of being white, are subtly yellow. This is a big deal because as far as I know, all other lighten face sprites are entirely monochrome. I have no idea why this is, to be honest. I can make up a grand crackpot theory about how it means Pizzapants is actually the most powerful character in Deltarune, and it'd be right, but we'd also be here for a while, so just admire that thought in your head instead. To my knowledge, this sprite is used exactly twice in the game. Toby Fox evidently has a lot of restraint, because if I were him, I would probably be spamming it so much that its novelty would start to wear out. After a very, very long time, of course, because this one is just so perfect. It's sort of an expansion on the last one. Literally. His face literally expands, like Toby rectangle selected and upscaled it, and as a result it looks like there are mixels. Simply immaculate. This is an iconic sequence of sprites where his whole face moves to the top left corner of his head, then to the bottom right, and then he shifts his expressions to match the O face Burgerpants has in Undertale. What I really like is that his beard follows the position of his face, which doesn't really make physical sense at all, but then again, neither does any of this. This face isn't particularly crazy or wacky, and it isn't the funniest one out there, but it is my favorite. I think it does something really special. Burgerpants in Undertale doesn't really have any sprites that appear genuinely happy. Here he looks nervous, but so sincere. It's only used a couple times in Chapter 1 and 2 when talking about Asriel, and in Chapter 4 when talking about Pizzarina, so I really hope we get to see more of this in the next one. This sprite was first shown off in a Twitter post Toby Fox made over a year ago now. Since then it seems to have been edited to move his hand down a little bit. This might be the most insane his head shape has gotten since that horrific jump scare in Undertale, but this time with a completely different vibe. Speaking of, stashed in the corner of this video was this sprite that remains concealed throughout it. Adjusting the brightness reveals that it appears to be a repeat of the last one but without his hand visible. For the longest time I assumed that there was more to this sprite because it looked really weird without the hand. The spriter's resource upload just looked like this. I ended up being correct, his other hand is holding up his phone. It does look like it's been edited slightly to move his eyes to the side to make it look like he's reading, and for some reason to give him these lines on his gums. Either way, let's rank these two together, I suppose. Oh my god, look at how happy he is, look at how excited he is. I think I was so busy tweaking out over seeing him again that I wasn't able to properly process his face at first. I've seen a couple people say this is cutest sprite. Well, I wouldn't personally go that far, it's up there for sure. Ah yes, the face that might be used when Toby Fox forces Pizzapants to make a Here Comes Dat Boy reference in 2025. Memes finally aged in an oaken cask. Memes so old they put Gerson Boom to shame. Aside from the regular contents of the face, we also get the long-awaited return of Tricky Tony's mysterious colored pixels that I mentioned earlier. Actually, in the process of studying all these sprites and finishing this script, I discovered that it's the same shade of yellowish off-white used for his eyes and teeth in Undertale. This particular shade isn't used anywhere else on his overworld sprites, so I'm really interested to know how and why this came about. You want to know something else? I'm gonna bump up the cuteness score by 1 point. I know this face is supposed to be straight up hideous, but I don't care. I don't need to justify myself to you. Okay, so this one's gonna be a bit weird, because these three are all brand new, and even though one of them is a fully animated overworld sprite, it's sort of impossible to review them separately. So, without further ado, I am proud to present my first time live reaction to this sequence. Alright. Pizzapants again. Maybe, if he's out there still. He probably will be. Oh no, poor boy. Oh. Oh no. Okay, well. Ah, little buddy, bet you're wondering about that date. Oh. No. Oh. He looks like a blobfish. No. We've seen Burgerpants and Pizzapants emote in so many ways over the past 10 years. We've seen him overcome with joy, trembling with anxiety, molding in wrath, nervously stuttering. But this is the first time in an official in-game context that we have seen him be sad. And maybe it's way easier for Pizzapants to hit me in the feels than most people, but yeah, it worked on me. Seeing him voice his insecurity about being treated as a joke broke my heart, but beyond that, it strangely gave me a tiny bit of hope that maybe someday he'll get to be more than that. Sorry, didn't mean to get too personal in the Sprite review video, but I wanted to do a little follow-up to my last video taking the new stuff into account. Anyway, on to the next one. Also, yeah, I do want to squeeze his face, what of it? Here we have Pizzapants puckering up for a kiss. Will you accept? The brave among us will. Again, not too much to say about this one, as it's only used for a single dialogue box, but it's still mildly funny. This is it. This is the sprite that's constantly floating in the back of my mind, rotating like a dropped item in Minecraft. I don't know what it is, but there's something I find inexplicably funny about this image. Like, look. Look at him. Look what happens when you stretch him horizontally. Aside from that, I just really like it. The way he's looking at the camera, his weird little tooth gap that moves one pixel to the side during his talk animation for some reason, is just sublime. Don't have too much to say about this one. It looks like he has a strip of fur over his mouth for some reason. We get to see his forearms, that's neat. But yeah, other than that, this is pretty unremarkable. This sprite is the only one that hasn't actually been in the game yet. It was shown off in the Holiday 2024 teaser for Chapter 5. But I have a lot to say about it regardless. First off, oh my god, he's so excited. Pizzapants is no stranger to insane expressions in his dialogue boxes, but this was the first time we got to see that leaking out into an overworld sprite. Thanks to Chapter 4, we also know that this suit is made of duct tape and he wore it to prom. I'd imagine the poor guy went alone. If you turn your gaze to his lip, you'll notice that on the second frame he has a couple of pink and gray pixels attached. This implies that Toby simply lasso selected his head and mirrored it, but accidentally included part of his suit and tie. Bangin' sprite work, my man. Now I'd like to talk about something rather abstract. So, if you're a freak like me, you'll have noticed by now that it's sort of a running gag that despite being nicknamed after them in both games, we never get to see his actual pants. Chapter 4 gives him super strength and the power of instant transmission just to avoid showing us. And even in concept art, he is tastefully deprived of them. So, like, why did Toby decide to unceremoniously end the bit in a newsletter over at least a year before we actually get to see the reveal in-game? This vexes me. Surely there must be more to this situation than meets the eye. I'm on to you, Tricky Tony. In any case, great sprite. So, that's all of them, huh? With the benefit of hindsight, I now realize that the scoring system is even more arbitrary than I joked about earlier. The scores hardly match my personal ranking of the sprites at all, which, in case you were wondering, looks a little bit like this. Writing this script, though, really helped put into words one of many reasons for why I like Pants so much. I think the face sprites add a lot to his character, and it's more than just comedy. Maybe I'm reading too much into a joke and there isn't anything there, but I think the fact that he's an inspiring actor recontextualizes his face's attempts at practice, or even trying to live out a dream he thinks he'll never achieve in front of an audience of only one person. Maybe I'm projecting, but it feels like a lot of love went into these sprites. So much effort was put into them to make them appear as low effort as possible, and it doesn't come across as deceptive to me, only endearing. It really simultaneously enhances the silliness and the feeling of desperation that he gives off. His dialogue is what made me love him, but attempting to speak objectively, it probably just wouldn't hit the same without his sprites. So let's thank our lucky stars that Pizzapants got new ones in Chapter 4, and collectively pray that he'll get even more in Chapter 5. My name is Pizzapants Posting, thanks for watching, been real.